and today I wanted to make a video to talk to you guys about making money training horses. This is something that I get asked a lot about, and I'm not going to talk about my own personal horse training experience in this video, but I wanted to make just sort of a general basic video to cover exactly how you would start a horse training business and how you would start making money training horses. It's definitely important to make sure that you have the experience, the program, and the results to back up being a trainer. So in this video, I'm going to cover several average guidelines that you would probably want to follow if you're interested in considering horse training as a career. So let's get started. I'm going to break down the horse training video into 10 easy steps. So if you've ever wondered about training horses as a career, or you've been strongly considering it, or you're just trying to decide if you're even ready, these 10 steps will really help you push in that direction. The first step is definitely the most crucial and will help you to determine whether or not you're ready to start offering your training services for a fee, or if you should accrue some more experience before starting your own horse training business. Some good things to consider are: what level are you at as a rider? How long have you been riding? How long have you been training? What are your achievements and accreditations? What are your competitive lifetime earnings? What trainers have you worked for or ridden with? And how many horses have you trained? So here's a really basic checklist to look through to kind of establish whether or not you're too green to be training horses, or whether you're experienced enough to consider training horses as a career. So let's take a look at the too green side, which would be someone, in my opinion, who should definitely reconsider starting a horse training business until they get some more experience under their belt. So this rider is a beginner to intermediate level rider who has been riding for less than 5 years and training horses for less than 1 year. They have no or minimal achievements, no lifetime competitive earnings, they've never worked for a trainer, and they've never ridden for a trainer. And they've trained less than 4 horses of average quality. In juxtaposition, let's take a look at the experienced side. This is someone that I would say could strongly consider a career in training horses. So that rider is advanced to a master level, and they've been riding for 5 or more years. They've trained horses from 1 to 5 years or more, and they have some or many achievements or some or many competitive lifetime earnings. They may have worked for a trainer at one point, or they may have also ridden for a trainer at one point, and they have also trained 10 or more quality horses. Now, in the last qualification of those 2 experience levels, you saw the words average and quality when mentioning horses that you've trained. This is the most important part, I think, of your experience level, because unfortunately a lot of people view horse training and your experience therein to be a volume-driven thing, but really it's a results-driven thing. You may have trained 500 horses against someone who's trained 5 horses, but the person who's trained more does not automatically become the better trainer. It's the person who gives the best quality results in the horses that they're training. If you're too green and your programs and methods are producing average level results in your horse training, then you're probably going to want to reconsider and get some more experience before delving into your own horse training business. However, if your experience level, your programs and methods are producing horses with amazing results, then that's kind of the time and the point where you can consider training horses as a career. Please keep in mind that checklist is only to help you determine your experience level for charging for horse training services. Your experience is in no way a reflection of whether or not you can or should train horses. This is all just a general guideline that I think is a fair amount of experience to have before starting to consider a horse training business of your own. Step 2 would be to choose your specialization of horse training. As a trainer, you should try to have a specific area or discipline of training in mind. For example, some disciplines would include something like colt starting or problem horse training. Also, disciplines such as barrel racing, jumping, western pleasure, reining, etc. I like to break general horse training into 2 categories. The first being basic, so starting a colt, going back and fixing problem horses or doing any sort of trick training. And then discipline training, which is actually training the horse for performance, such as hunter-jumper, western pleasure, reining, barrels, so on and so forth. In order to realize your potential to have a successful and lucrative horse training business with a great reputation and proven results, it's crucial that you're able to identify a clear specialization for training based on your talents, knowledge, and your experience. Try to stick to just one area of training and master it. Your clients will appreciate that you are the best at what you do and not just a jack of all trades with holes in everything that you're teaching your horses. Moving on to step 3, you will now outline a training program. Your training program will consist of 3 to 5 or more phases that the horse will be progressing through. Be sure to have a specific explanation of each phase and how it will impact the horse's training and their results. Clients want to know what you will be doing and teaching them step by step. So developing a program will help you not only keep focused on your training goals, but also to keep track of your progression and allow your client to set a reasonable expectation for the results of your training. Now I'm going to show you an example, so let's take a look at the made-up horse ranch, LOL. So we are going to focus on barrel training for this ranch, and here I've laid out a 30-day barrel training program. This 30-day program includes 4 phases of training that the horse is going to graduate through, so it's really clear, defined, and simple for a client to understand, as well as really helpful to set goals for the results of the horse. You can see here some of the areas of training that are going to be covered through our made-up program are the groundwork, fence work, introduction to the barrel pattern, and refinement on the barrel pattern. So those are the main bullet points, and then underneath we've listed exactly what that entails. So what kind of groundwork we're going to be doing, what the fence work is going to include, how we're going to introduce the barrel pattern, and also how we're going to refine the barrel pattern. Clearly this is just a fictitious 30-day barrel training program by this made-up horse ranch. If you are considering training as a career, you should already have a clear understanding of how you want to train the horse and what your results are going to be. So if you're unable to make some kind of a training outline like this, then you'll definitely want to reconsider whether or not you have the experience or the program's proven results to even be training horses. Most programs are best developed from 30 days to 90 days. More specialized ongoing programs will likely surpass a 90-day period of training, but to be realistic, most horse owners will probably only be willing to invest a maximum of 90 days of professional training at a time into a horse. So try to set your initial program length at just 30 days and then create a more advanced program for people looking for the 60 to 90-day periods of training. Let's move on to step 4 and pricing your training services. I showed this a second ago, but I break down all horse training into 2 categories. Your basic training, which includes things like colt starting and problem horse training, and your discipline training, which is more advanced performance training, which includes things like barrel racing, jumping, and reining. So here's my general guideline for pricing your basic horse training. You have your low price at $500, average at $600, and high at $700 per month for training. In juxtaposition, you have the general pricing bracket for the discipline training or performance training, which starts at the low end at $600, moves up into the average at $800, and generally caps out in the high range at $1,200 per month. So you're probably looking at these price brackets and asking yourself, if I'm making $600 per horse a month, why don't I just train 20 horses a month and then I'll be rich? I'm sorry, but it doesn't really work like that, and I definitely think it's important for you guys to have a realistic expectation of exactly how much time is involved training each horse every day. Let's assume that each horse takes you 1 hour to work with a day. That is the time it takes you to get the horse out of the stall, to groom the horse, tack up, train, ride, untack the horse, bathe the horse, and put the horse away. That is almost no time at all, and guaranteed you're going to be spending at least an hour to an hour and a half or more with each horse you're training every single day. even if you're just doing minimal amounts of work with them. There's absolutely no way that with that time frame that you could be able to train more than 6 horses by yourself in a single day and still have time to feed, water, clean, and care for the horses both in the morning and at night, and take care of yourself and have a little lunch break during the day. So just make sure with that in mind that you're keeping extremely realistic about the quantity and volume goals that you set for yourself in your horse training. Remember, it's about quality results, not volume of horses. Even though the volume of horses is going to make you more money in the moment, the quality and results of your program is going to continue to make you money by a stellar reputation in the future. So generally speaking, if you're a lower level trainer without any hands or employees, it's probably going to be best for you to take in a maximum of 6 horses per month, ideally 3 horses per month, and of course at the minimum 1 horse per month. Keep in mind that you can charge whatever you want for your training services, but that's just a general guideline of price brackets that I think is fair for a good value of training. And if you're just starting out, you might start on the lower end of the price bracket, and as you get more experience and more work and some more testimonials from clients, you can raise your prices in the future to an average or a higher training price bracket. Moving on to step 5, you'll have to decide what will be included in the horse's care and training. As a general rule, I always typically include 30 full days of training and riding, alfalfa hay that's fed twice daily, 30 days of total board, stalls cleaned daily or turnout, and 2 client lessons with the horse before finishing the program, just so they can get a feel for what I've done in their training. Some of the best advice I can give you is to include the daily feed in your training price. Nothing extravagant, obviously. If the client wants any extra feeds or supplements, they will have to provide that. But I'm talking the basic nutrition program, like alfalfa hay twice daily. A lot of clients will try to get a discount on training by providing their own feed, but I'm telling you, you would be absolutely horrified to see what some people's idea of proper nutrition for a horse is. Believe me when I say that you do not want the conflict of having a client that believes proper nutrition for their 1,000-pound quarter horse is only 2 bales of alfalfa hay for 30 days worth of training. Insist on providing the feed yourself in your training program and build it into the price of your training. Believe me, this will save you so much headache and drama with your client later, especially if you have one of those very special people who do not know how to feed their horse properly. I always ask the owner to provide any additional feed or hay that they want given to the horse on top of the alfalfa hay that's already built into the price that I'm giving them twice a day, veterinary care as well as any medications the horse needs, farrier services, any supplements or vitamins that the owner would like fed to the horse, as well as blankets, fly masks, or fly sheets. Now on to step number 6, creating a brand, a logo, or an LLC. Establishing the right name for your horse training business in addition to a brand image and a logo are going to be really important parts of being able to get your training services out there and advertising. Take the time to brainstorm on the name for your horse training business and really come up with something that's catchy and unique and very specific to you. And don't be afraid to get inspiration from others, but try to be as original as possible, of course. And building a logo or a brand image or putting any kinds of photographs together like this is as easy as using any basic Photoshop or Illustrator program on your computer. Now to create a horse training website and advertising. Your website is extremely important and is going to be the best resource for clients to view your work, your credentials, your experience, and just your general philosophy on training to decide whether or not you are going to be the best fit for the results they're looking for the training of their horse. On a well laid out horse training website, I like to see a homepage that features a training philosophy or some kind of mission statement, as well as a little bit about the trainer themselves. Several tabs should be present at the top of the website that can lead a client to testimonials from other clients, contact information so that they can get a hold of you, as well as your training program details and pricing. Additional tabs can also be included, such as a sale barn page or maybe even a gallery, but I definitely think it's important to maintain a level of simplicity on the website so that it's just easy to navigate. And probably one of the most important things besides the content is the design layout. You really want to make it something memorable, something very clean, but that speaks to your brand image and your personal style. This is the homepage to my website, which is www.littleredcowgirl.com. So if you're interested in kind of seeing how a good horse training website can lay out, you can visit this for some inspiration. There's a lot of websites that will actually help you build a site, and the one that I used for my website was called Wix. It's a very reasonable price per month, and the templates that they have are all very user-friendly, so it's super easy to create, navigate, and customize your own website. If you don't have the $15 or so a month to subscribe to a website making services, or if you just don't feel comfortable doing a website, you can also use free services like Instagram or Facebook to create a page for your horse training that you can send people to in order to see photos, testimonials, and also information about your training program. In addition to posting on social media websites like Instagram and Facebook for your training services, YouTube is also a great outlet to capitalize on what kind of training you offer. It allows the client an opportunity to see you work in the flesh and to get an idea for how you ride and what kind of horses you're producing with your program. Moving on to step 8, you will now need to establish your facility and tools. The most ideal situation you can have for a horse training business is to operate out of a facility that you own and manage yourself. This ensures that you have the most minimal overhead for your profit and loss as possible. If owning your own facility to operate your business from is just not possible, many horse facilities do offer special boarding discounts for bulk training. But again, if you do not own your own facility in which you don't have to pay board, you may want to consider holding off on your training business altogether until you're in a better position to own your own facility. That way, you're not just throwing away countless profits on boarding each month. The setup for a good training facility should include an indoor or an outdoor covered barn with at least 4 to 6 stalls. That way, you're able to take in at least 4 to 6 horses a month for training. Stalls should be bedded, well maintained, and at least a minimum of 12 by 12 feet. If you don't have horse stalls, pasture turnout is also a great alternative, as long as it's safe for the horse, fenced off, and has somewhere for the horse to take shelter. A well-established facility should also include some kind of round pen environment for groundwork training. And most importantly, you should have an indoor or an outdoor arena that can be utilized every day where you can train your clients' horses. Moving along to step 9, we're now going to calculate your profit and loss. It's definitely important to know where you are at financially with your training every month. So I'm going to show you a few basic examples of what you can expect to bring in per month for your profit and your loss. Okay, so let's take a look at your hypothetical 30-day training program. You're charging $700 per horse, and in 1 month, you are training 6 horses at a time. That comes to a total of $4,200 in just 1 month. Assuming you own your own facility, the only overhead you have will be the feed. Each horse consumes $120 per month in feed, and after the cost for feeding with your full board, your profit is now $3,480. Now that you've seen your profit and loss, you can take the total profit amount and figure out your monthly bills. As I mentioned in the beginning of this video, horse training as a career definitely demands a lot of financial sacrifice. You'll notice just a few of the bills that I've listed include absolute necessities like a cell phone, vehicle payments and insurance, rent and mortgage, food and gas, power, water, trash, website advertising, and tack and supplies. Pretty much anything else added to that list besides probably something like health insurance, which I forgot to include, would be considered a disposable income expenditure. In this hypothetical situation, your leftover monthly income is $1,230. That's the amount that remains as your disposable income after you've paid all of your bills and necessities. At this point, you're probably thinking, wow, I just made $4,200 in 1 month. I make a lot of money training horses. But you just had 6 horses in for training, which is a lot. What happens in those months where you have no horses in for training? Remember that extra income you had left over after you paid your bills? Well, you should definitely take it and deposit it straight into your savings account. Horse training careers are feast or famine, meaning you either have a ton of clients in at once or you go long periods of time where you have absolutely no work whatsoever. Because of that nature, it's definitely important to get as much work as possible whenever possible. If you're solely relying on the income of your horse training business to survive, you have to know that there will be months where you make absolutely nothing at all and have 0 clients. So it's definitely important to save as much extra monthly income as you can so that you can rely on that money when you don't have any work. The average horse trainer annually just doesn't make that much money, and that's pretty typical. The financial sacrifice that you will have to make training horses as a career is definitely something that you will have to consider before pursuing it. Other measures that you can take to ensure that you're making enough money to survive on training horses every year are things like having a roommate, living in a modest home, or even possibly having a spouse that contributes to your financial earnings. It's definitely also important to consider your monthly spending, such as entertainment, clothing, and eating out, and to live as minimally as you possibly can. So let's break down a typical year of training. Hypothetically speaking, we'll say that you are charging $600 per horse for a 30-day program. So for at least 1 month out of the year, let's assume that you only get 1 horse in for training. That would just be $600. And for 2 months out of the year, let's assume that you have no work at all. You don't make any money or have any clients. On average, let's say that 4 months out of the year, you have 6 horses in for training a month, which would be a total of $14,400. And finally, for an average of 5 months out of the year, we'll assume that you have 2 horses in for training a month, which would be a total of $6,000. So before all your feed costs, overhead, and your monthly bills, your yearly income has come to $21,000. That's actually not that much for a yearly income, but you've only trained 35 horses, which is actually quite a lot of horses. However, you're only charging $600 per horse. Eventually, when you get to the point where your training services are becoming more advanced, you can charge more to bring up your yearly income to a point that's reasonable for you to survive. However, when you're just starting out, I think this is a pretty good example of a typical year you can come to expect. Keep in mind that the more your career begins to advance, the more you can charge per horse for training, and the less horses you'll need to train every single month to make the same amount of money. And finally, on to step 10, create a training contract and disclaimers. Having an airtight contract is going to be one of the most important things to your training program. Not always, but sometimes, unfortunately, people will really try to screw with you. For that reason, it's important to have a very thorough training contract as well as disclaimers that protect you as a trainer. I always like to tell clients that they commission at their own risk. They viewed the facility, the training program, the testimonials, results, and they thoroughly read the contract and training disclaimers. If they're not comfortable with any of those things, they are free to walk away and not commission you to train their horse. I think it's very important that clients understand that the training results may vary, so definitely include that in your contract. Not all horses are the same, and not all horses will demonstrate the same athletic ability, potential, or results. Horses are free-thinking, unpredictable, and at times dangerous animals to work with. So it's important to include in your contract that you are in no way responsible for the safety, injury, or death of participants or animals in your program either before or after training. It's also extremely important to mention in the contract that you are not responsible for any sickness, injury, loss, theft, or death to horses in your program, either before, during, or after training. All training services are non-refundable and all training payments are due upfront in full. You are not responsible for loss, theft, or damage to tack and other personal effects and belongings. You reserve the right to refuse service to anyone at any time for any reason during the horse's training, at which point a refund will be provided for training services in a timely manner. You can definitely tailor some more disclaimers to your training contract, but those are just a few of the most important ones that I wanted to cover. I hope this video was helpful and informative and gave you some great basic information that might help you get started training horses as a career. So thank you for watching and subscribing, and I will see you all in the next video.